Yo, so I'm not usually a news channel. I usually just talk philosophy, just talk ideas with all you guys. Never really talk practical politics. But ever since this Georgia election, I don't know, things have gotten interesting. Things have gotten interesting. And after this election, after this weird 2020 election, looks like 2021 is not going to be any different. As Frog Machine said in his video, 2021, nothing's changed. Or I think that's what his video is about. Whatever, no big deal. I just saw this and I was like, you know what? We're gonna stream. I have an hour until work, but fuck it, we're streaming. Because this interests me, and I want to see what's on your guys' minds. I want to see what's on everyone's minds. With the rating of the Capitol going on. This is completely unprompted. I didn't even post this on Discord, so the one viewer who's watching this is like the exclusive viewer who gets to watch me talk about this. Oh, and now we're down to 0. So it seems like the chat is dead, everything's dead, but I'm still talking. So that's the way things are gonna go. But I don't know. This is interesting. The Capitol is being raided by the Republicans after talking about the Black Lives Matter protesters and condemning them and saying that there's these terrible rioters and they're destroying everything and they're being extremely violent. Well, now we have the raiding of the Capitol building by those who condemned the BLM rioters. So yeah, I mean, it kind of just shows like they're all the same. Most of us are going to hate violence. Most of us are going to say, oh, everybody hates violence, but it seems like there's extremes on both sides, and they're both going to riot when they feel bad about it. I mean, the Democrats and Republicans aren't that different. Neither of them really respect individual rights. They act based entirely off whims. They act based entirely off what feels this feels bad for me. We lost this election. I feel terrible, so I'm going to raid the Capitol now because I can't deal with losing. I mean, that's fundamentally that's really what this is. They can't deal with losing, so they come up with all their conspiracy theories. They come up with all their bullshit, and now they're raiding the Capitol. They're attempting a coup, as a more provocative person would say it. And you know what? Fuck it. We'll be provocative, guys. We'll be provocative here. So yeah, I was just watching I was watching Destiny's stream of this, and then I went over to Vosh's stream for like 2 seconds, and then started watching David Pakman's. But now I'm just watching the PBS NewsHour segment, so I can probably switch to that right now and just watch that, since nobody really wants to talk in the chat, and nobody really wants to stay for very long. So I think I'll switch over to that and just give some of my takes.
After being shot inside the Capitol. This is
this is crazy. Some people are getting shot. There's a lot of chaos at the Capitol building.
Exactly what happened. That may well be the individual who we reported earlier, it was believed to have been shot in the chest.
Yeah, I guess I'm not presenting anything new to you guys, but I don't know. Everyone's streaming about this, so I figured, you know what, fuck it, I'll hop on the train and stream a little bit, just to get myself back into the habit of streaming as well.
I'm quoting Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia. He is saying, per the mayor's request, referring to Mayor Muriel Bowser of the district, I am sending members of the Virginia National Guard along with 200
Oh wow, they're sending the National Guard now. That's crazy.
Into the district. So that presumably is an effort to try to help clear the Capitol. He said
Yeah, they're just trying to raid it and just attack him. I think I've heard there's been like tear gas thrown. They evacuated the Capitol. They did a lot of shit. This shit's crazy. This shit's crazy.
We're looking at live pictures of the United States Capitol in the aftermath of a shooting of one of these protesters inside the building after they breached the perimeter.
So, I mean, what do we know about the shooting? Does anyone have any more information on that? Because I don't know too much about this.
Of these protesters,
this is new to me as well. I'm not usually
walking in one direction
a
or
news
another.
streamer.
We can't really tell if that's something
just kind of
watch
it play out, you know.
Ad hoc. But we are trying to follow it at the same time. We're trying to follow what's going on outside the Capitol.
Oh God, this is so cringe. Imagine being so fucking excited by some loser. I thought we were going to get tired of winning Trump, but you just keep losing.
There are now attempts to step up security at the Capitol and an attempt
Yeah,
to
and it
clear
looks like,
the Capitol
because it looks like
building
right
itself
before this,
of
last night,
protesters who
where's
have
my
gone
mouse?
inside,
There it is.
who've occupied the Speaker's office,
The night before this,
who've
U.S.
occupied the Senate
Senate
floor,
results. Yeah, let's look
walked
at that.
through
Because the night before,
hallways of the Capitol building. There's
it's
now
looking like,
a very serious and organized attempt to try to clear them out. The National Guard has been called in.
it's looking like the Democrats got
security
got both
officials
Senate
have been
seats, so they're
called
going to
in
have all three
in an
branches of
effort
government now,
to
which
try to restore calm and
I'm not
peace,
super excited about, to be
this
honest.
building, where
I don't
nation's
think they'll get
business
anything
was
super
being
extreme
conducted.
done. I think there's enough
Constitution
moderate.
calls for on January,
I think there's enough moderate
the
voters in
6th
the Senate to prevent anything too extreme from
members of
happening.
Congress to gather to count
Enough moderate
formally
Democrats to
the
prevent anything like
electoral
Medicare
votes.
for all,
One more
anything
step
like
in the process of
packing the
certifying,
courts,
the
or
election
like
result.
free
The
college,
election
or
took
any
place on
like the
November
Green New Deal or
3rd
anything like
and
that.
November
But I think it's
7th.
still probably
Joe
going to be
Biden
bad. I
and
think the
Kamala
Democrats are going to
Harris
get a
were
lot
declared
of stuff
winners,
passed
by virtue
that
of
they
the count that was done at
yeah, they're
going to
get a lot of stuff passed that we don't
and
want to get
state by
passed,
state, every
such
state has
as like
certified
a
its
public
results.
option,
The
more
electoral
restrictions
votes have
because
been
of
certified
climate
by
change,
the
more
states.
environmental restrictions,
Today was a
more
mere-
business
really a mere
regulations.
formality.
That's the sort of stuff that I'd be
Then
scared
there
about.
were
That's kind of why
protests,
I
there were
wanted
objections
Republicans to at
raised
least hold
by a
majority, get like
handful of
51, but
Republican
then
senators,
lose everything
by
else, lose
over
the presidency, lose that
100,
sort of stuff.
Around
I guess
100
one positive thing
Republican
that could
House
come out of this
members
would be like
at the
maybe like
behest of President
ending the
Trump.
war on drugs,
They were
legalizing
asked to
marijuana,
object
some criminal
to
justice
the
things.
electoral count with no
But that would be
factual
just
basis
about it,
whatsoever
honestly.
of any irregularity.
But yeah, it looks
Simply
like
an
because it looks like
allegation
last night
that,
Ossoff and
something
Warnock
went
both
wrong.
are going to
We
win.
heard,
Although I
Congressman
remember there was a
Steve Scalise
decent
of
sized gap
Louisiana
between them
speaking
earlier,
about
but I think that's kind of what's been happening in
governors and
Georgia for
secretaries
this
of
election, since they
state in
count the mail-in
various
ballots
states
after they count the regular
overriding
ballots.
the will of state legislatures, but we don't have any details about what he was referring to.
I don't know if this I
because
don't know
we
if the
that state after state
if the
after state, all
background
50
noise is
states and
super
the
loud.
district have certified the election results.
But let's keep
we
keep
still
that
don't
kind of
know
low,
what
just so that yeah, I don't know.
exactly is it
Yeah, because this
that
stuff's
the
over.
objection is based on? What is it that they're
But yeah, there was that like
that,
same thing like
they
what happened in the
claim
presidential election. It
would
starts
call
off
for
there
a
were the
re-examination,
Republicans looked like they
or
were
in
going to
the
win,
words
and
of
then
Senator
slowly
Ted
over
Cruz,
time the Democrats caught up and ended up
objects
winning.
an auditing
And that's I
of
think
the
that's the reason
election
people think
results.
there's fraud,
We've
but I don't
seen,
think
what
that
is it, 90
that
court-
conclusion makes a
court
ton of
cases
sense.
where in every case, Democratic
Because this is
appointed
sort
and
of what
Republican
is to be
appointed
expected when
judges,
it comes to the
including
mail-in ballots.
Judges appointed by
Yeah, now it
President
looks
Trump,
like the
have called for those results. Have called those
Senate is
allegations
controlled by the
unfounded, have
Democrats.
said, "We don't see any evidence
Everything's
here,
really
we don't
controlled by
see
the
any
Democrats
legal
except
basis
the
for what
except
you're
the
doing." There's been nothing that's been upheld in any single court
except the
in the United
Supreme
States
Court, obviously.
that would lead to
But I think in general with the Senate, it's
factual
I mean with
evidence
Democrats
that would
controlling everything, I
undermine
think
the
it's
result of
mostly
this
fine. I think there's
election.
enough
So what
gridlock
we're
still in the
seeing
Senate to prevent
is
anything major from
anger
passing. Like all we need, all the Republicans would
disappointment
need
and a
to get
determination
to prevent
to
something
overturn
from
the
being
results of the
passed would
election,
be
but based
a
on
single vote. But
nothing of
Yeah.
any legitimate or legal consequence. So, and yet President
Trilu
Trump
says
continues
it's
to push
fine.
this.
I
Just
mean,
an hour ago, he tweeted,
I think
another
everything with this
criticism
with
of his
the
own vice president,
with the Senate will
Mike
probably be
Pence,
fine.
who
I think
we've been saying
we'll
all
see
day
what happens
long,
over the
Mike
next few
Pence,
years. I
probably
think
no one
I don't
more
think
loyal
anything
to this
too major will
president, but
happen.
what
But I think with
President
this
Sitler
protesting,
wrote
this is
just
this
an
is
hour ago,
interesting
said
because
Mike
I think
Pence didn't have the
it really
courage
represents
to
what
do
the
what
Republican
should have been
Party
done to
has
protect our
moved
country and our
towards
Constitution, keep
over
the
these
status
last few
quo,
years. Trump has
certify a
been
corrected
really
set of
pushing this
facts.
like fake news narrative,
Mike
this
Pence
this
put out a
conspiracy
statement
theory
today
type
saying that
narrative
he,
where like we can't trust the
simply,
mainstream, we can't trust anything.
did not see
We can't trust
a
anything or
foundation
anyone
for
that's like
his being
mainstream,
able
I
to do
guess.
what the president was asking him
And he
to do.
set up, he
So
was
a-
priming his voters to just believe
remarkable is an
his
overused
random whims, his
word. I'm gonna
random
use it
numbers he
again.
comes up with to believe
Remarkable.
just about
Turn of events
anything.
here in Washington, the likes of
And
which
ultimately, this
we have not
it led
seen,
to
I, in my
it led to
40+
all
years
these
covering
crazy
Washington,
conspiracy theories
never
after the
seen
election
anything
happened
like
that are
this,
like almost immediately
where
disprovable
people come
after you
and
actually begin to
break into
research
the
something.
Capitol because they
And
don't like the
it
result
led
of the
to
election.
like this
Certainly
spurious
people are
collection of
unhappy
data
about
and
election
people being
results.
completely
There's
fine
been
with that. Like the way they
peaceful
collected the
protests,
affidavits,
there's
for
been
example,
people raising
where they just
objections, but
randomly
not to
set
this
up
degree,
some
not to this degree where weapons
like place where you
were
can
used
go
when
and
the
submit
Capitol
all
was
your
broken
claims about all this bad stuff
it's
that's
just a
happening in the
simply
election. Submit those
stunning
claims
turn
towards
of events,
someone, and it's just like they took all of those things, threw out the ones that were obviously proven false, and they took all the other affidavits and said, "Oh yeah, these ones are probably fine," and they went with them. They sent them to court, and that, I mean, the court called them out for that. That's like, that's not a good way of collecting evidence. That's not a good way of finding truth.
In an attempt to clear the Capitol and to restore order. Let's see. I want to see if Lisa or Yamiche.
Yeah. So here's what happens. Trump loses, and then the Trump supporters attempt a coup. They attempt to take the government by force, which, as we all know, force is, as objectivists, force is not a very good thing. Hey, what's up, Tiago? He might not agree with me on all this, but hopefully you're not pro these rioters. I have a friend who's actually who is really mad about, who I think believes in like the election conspiracy theory type things, believes that voter fraud occurred, who is like really mad about people attacking the Capitol.
And he said the protesters, quote, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
So it'll be similar. I think they're going to respond to this similar to how they responded to the BLM protesters. Tiago says, "Take the country." Oh no! I hope you're memeing, brother. I hope you're memeing.
Vice President saying that they will be prosecuted.
That's right, and the vice president's statement.
Yeah, I mean, they prosecuted a lot of. Did they prosecute the Black Lives Matter protesters? I swear I remember they did. I don't remember too much. 1776 will commence again. I hope Tiago, I hope you didn't condemn the Black Lives Matter protesters, because I mean, it's the same sort of thing. It's the same sort of thing, the same parallel, where they're trying to use violence to get their whims achieved in government, which is ultimately what it has to come down to when you have a statist ideology. Because the statist ideologies all sort of are based on this idea that you need to use force to get political power, or they believe in the use of force to control society, to make it based off of your whims. That's how statist ideologies work. Ultimately, as an objectivist, I believe that our society should be structured through peaceful, win-win transactions, which, I mean, this doesn't really look like a win-win transaction. People are getting shot, the Capitol's being rioted, people are evacuating. This is not necessarily win-win. Now, here's the thing. I don't necessarily have a problem with violence as such, if it's directed properly, if it's directed towards a good end. But when it's directed towards like these baseless theories about voter fraud that are partially based off of bullshit from the past, like all the dead voters and all the like multiple votes per person and all that sort of stuff. Those are things that happen every single election. Republicans say that happened in mass, and it's I mean, they do studies on this stuff, and it's disproven every single time.
And elected members of the Senate and the House and federal officials
it is
at
what it
every
is.
level in President Trump's administration have supported what the president has said in saying that this election was rigged, that it's an election that was stolen, and therefore...
Oh yeah, and this narrative as well, that the election is rigged, the election was stolen, and now we're gonna riot because of that. That's going to, I mean, that's going to lead to a alienation of moderate Republicans in the party. That's going to lead to them being pushed away from the mainstream Republican Party. It's going to lead to a real divide. Because I don't think moderate Republicans are going to want to vote for a Trumpist candidate in 2024 after they see this happen. Like, I'd be one of them. I'm generally a Republican voter, but after seeing the effect of Trumpism on the Republican Party, I'm not going to vote Republican, and they don't even need that many people. This could cripple the Republican Party forever.
Much more substantial weaponry. They all had helmets and riot shields and face shields on. And they
if you believe in government, you believe in force to control individuals, unless you're an ANCAP, which it sounds like you are. I'm not an ANCAP. I'm definitely not an ANCAP. Because I don't believe in force to control individuals. I believe that we need a monopoly on force, though, to control the use of force in society, but it can only be used in a retaliatory sense, such as like locking up criminals. You can't preemptively use force against people. That's what I would disagree with. Election was actually rigged, though. Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many different claims that you would have to make. I mean, just the way that I've already explained, like the way they collected the affidavits, That's like their primary source of evidence, from my understanding. It seemed to be, it's a very spurious way of collecting evidence for something. Yeah, I'm probably not going to stay much longer because I'm kind of riding with 3 viewers. I didn't post this in any of the Discords, which I probably should have. I probably should have posted this more places. But it is what it is. I just wanted to like quickly do this sort of video, discuss a little bit of what's on my mind, and I'm probably going to end up getting going soon, but because I have work in a few minutes. Oh fuck.
Another piece of information I want to share, and we only have this from one protester who said he was part of the group that was able to breach the doors and get inside the Capitol. He said that those protesters witnessed one protester being shot. He couldn't provide many more details. He didn't know the person who was shot. He identified her as a young woman. That is a single protester.
Everyone's talking about this one person getting shot, but nobody has any information on this. It feels like, yeah, I don't know.
He was able to get in with the rest of the crowd he was with.
How many people in DC? I'm not sure.
He said about 500 people. That is his account.
Oh, they answered the question right there. 500 people, I guess. That's not that many.
So I wandered around. I said, "Did you see
That's a
any
very
police?"
small
He said,
protest.
Just a few. And then
Strange.
I asked him why he left, and he said, well,
Maybe it's
we
not
got
as big a
bored.
deal as
There was
people are
nothing else to
making
do,
it.
so we came back outside.
But maybe it
He
is
was
too.
one
I
of the
mean,
few who was
they are
walking
literally
around with the
storming the
rest of
Capitol
protesters.
building.
So that's not something that you would
So
expect
it doesn't
to
take a
hear
lot
from
to
someone
like
who was
lead
able to
a
come here,
revolution, to lead a
breach
coup
the
of any
entry
sort.
to the Capitol,
I think,
wander about at
what was
will,
that Lenin
and
quote
then
where it's
leave.
like,
But of course,
finally
he
5
knows
people
anything else
understand
about this very
communism, the
disturbing
revolution
report about
will
one
be
person being
successful.
shot. We
It's something like
continue
that,
to share that
which
with you.
I
Right
disagree
now,
with Lenin
we're in a standoff.
very
We see what
fundamentally. I'm
happened
by
yesterday.
no
Visual
means in
forces
in agreement with
now
Lenin,
arriving,
but
the
I think
protesters
that's
showing no
largely true. You don't
signs of
need
moving.
a lot of people to really spark
Yes, it
extreme
is,
change.
It is such a disturbing scene, and then on
Because
there
most
you see
people in a
the
society really
protests
just
that are going
don't give
on,
a
you see the
fuck.
crowds behind you,
They'll
but then when you
go
saw
wherever
some
the
two people,
society goes.
when you
Wherever
started to
society
speak, they
goes,
were
they'll
just walking
follow.
casually behind you like they were strolling.
So the extremists
through
on
Washington.
all
We
ends,
do have a few more
they
pieces
when
of
they
information
take
we
actions,
wanna
they
share.
have a
One
lot
is,
more power
CBS is reporting that Kevin McCarthy,
in guiding
who
society
is
than
the
the
highest,
everyday person.
ranking Republican in the House, he's the House Minority Leader, has phoned President Trump to ask him to do more to get the crowd to step back, to do something to calm the protests. He asked
Trump
him,
gonna do anything?
to speak to the country. At least that is the report that we've been receiving. We're now trying to confirm that ourselves, but we want to share that with you.
Oh, thanks,
Being
Charles, for posting it on
reported,
one
by
Discord.
CBS. Another
Tiago
news
says most people are
organization
NPCs.
reporting that
Yeah, true.
law enforcement
I mean,
is,
most people don't care.
arriving,
A lot of people like to make that argument that like certain people have no
we are
internal
also told
dialogue,
that
and that's
both the
a
National
big
Guard
thing.
and the
That's a big
federal
argument, and those are all the
police of
NPCs. But
other
I think most people
descriptions
just really
are heading toward the
don't
Capitol.
think much about
They are
politics and don't
clearly
really
on
care
moves
too
now
much
to
about it either.
reinforce security at the Capitol. Whatever
The world becomes
planning
clear
was
when
that
you
went
realize
into
that.
today,
It might. I mean, that might be true, but that's. I mean, I'm
determination
very
of this crowd
skeptical of those
to do
claims
what
because
it
it
has
like.
done, which is enter
I'm
the
really
building
scared of like
and
developing
to,
some sort of like
to have
superiority
them
complex and
work
thinking that I'm just
their
so
way
much
through.
better than everyone else.
And,
Like I like
to
to,
the point that
I
we
like
now
to try to
know
be
at least
empathetic
one
with people,
protester
but
was
I don't
shot.
know. I don't know.
I've just read another report.
There are times when it
and
really
I
does
can't
seem like a
tell you
lot
the
of people
source of
are
it,
NPCs with
the
no
report
real
is that 6
thought
people
process
have
of their
been
own.
taken to the hospital as
Especially
what
these.
we've been watching,
I mean, it's just the people that
at
like
the
just
Capitol.
repeat all
And
this
I'm
stuff that
looking to see if I can find the
heard
source
from
of
like
that,
these
because
mainstream
we are always
propaganda
reluctant to
outlets.
share
And
information.
when
We
I
have
talk
not
about
confirmed that,
mainstream
but I did see
propaganda
a
outlets, I
report,
don't
6
just
people
mean
taken
like
to the hospital.
CNN. I also
We
mean
can
like
say the AP is
these like
reporting that the National
I'm trying to
Guard
think. These like more
and
extreme
other,
right-wing
federal
outlets.
police
I don't know if
are
they're
making
what
their
some of
way
them
to
are.
the
Is like
Capitol. I've seen a
OAN one of
report
them?
the
I don't know.
Department of Homeland
There's like those more
Security,
extreme
is sending its
right-wing news groups as well
uniformed,
that also
guards, officials, security,
do a lot of like
at the Capitol.
propaganda type stuff.
And as I
And
mentioned
I don't know,
earlier,
the type of
Vice
people who
President
just
Pence himself
who
has tweeted
take
that this
mainstream
attack
talking
on the
points from
Capitol
either
will
party,
not be
either side,
tolerated.
and just
The
run with
protesters will
them
be
to the
prosecuted to the
extremes,
fullest extent of the
and
law.
don't really
In other words,
question
he's
anything that
going
they believe.
further
Those are
than
the sort of
President
people
Trump is
that
himself. President Trump has
that
called for
I
calm.
I struggle to
He
understand
called for people to be
how they
put.
do have an
He said that
internal
this is
dialogue.
after hours of
But
basically
yeah,
egging them on.
I mean,
and saying
I
his
understand a lot of the
election-
people.
the
I
election
do
was
relate to a
rigged,
lot of people who like just
urging
don't
them
care as
to
much about
have the
politics and don't
courage to stand
do as
up
much research
to
as
defy
much
the
research on certain
accurate
things and get
election
super deep into
results.
all
And
these
only
news
in
stories.
the
Because
aftermath
I
of
mean,
that,
I don't really do that
and
either.
as we just
I don't get
reported,
very deep
after
into
he
news
was
stories.
asked
I like
by,
thinking mostly about
Congressman McCarthy, who's the
about
Senate or
mostly
House
thinking about
minority leader, the president was
ideological
asked to
trends and
do more,
ideologies and
to
philosophy
speak
and
to
those
the
sort of
American
things.
people,
That's
to
something that I
urge
question
these
a lot. That's the
supporters
main
of
thing I
his to
question.
stand down, and we're waiting
Not
to see what
necessarily
more
like
he will
all
do.
these like
We are waiting
facts
to
in the
hear from
news.
Joe
I don't
Biden.
necessarily
He
have
was to be
all of
talking
those.
to the
That's not
press
my
at
main focus, I
3:30
don't
Eastern
think.
Time. That time is
Also,
coming
math
on.
is
It's
something
been
that I
20
know a
minutes
lot
ago. We're
about.
still waiting to see
Talking about
what,
main focuses and
what, if
what my
anything,
favorite thing
the
to
Vice
think about is.
President, or rather President-elect
but yeah.
Biden will have to say. He may be waiting
Let's listen to this a little
see,
bit. Oh, Biden's going to
what
speak
takes
soon, isn't
place
he?
and whether they are
I can watch the
able
Biden speech.
to calm things down at the Capitol building. So we know, again, efforts are being made underway right now to get more uniformed officers into the Capitol to calm things down. So Lisa Desjardins, you are inside the Capitol complex. Tell us what you've learned at this point. Lisa.
Yeah, right now a few staffers are starting to venture a little bit out of their offices, go into other offices. There are a few people in the halls, but generally this is what it looks like in the Capitol. Just a few people, and on any other day, any other period of time, this would be completely abnormal. But this is what the Capitol has looked like during the coronavirus. One thing about the timing of this today that has meant fewer people were affected than would have been affected a year ago is that many of the congressional offices have either no staff or very little staff.
How cool it would be for
because
Trump
of
to
the
do a rally on
coronavirus.
inauguration and it's bigger than
people in
Biden's.
the Capitol complex, like so many
I mean, that
Americans,
is
are working
possible. Where
remotely.
if
Capitol
although I don't know if
has
that would
some
happen. Like a Trump
20,000
rally is not as
employees.
like well
That's
known
mounted
about
on
and as
your
well.
faction
I mean, a
these
lot of
days
people
because
go
of
to
the
Trump rallies.
coronavirus.
That's true.
Now, on the
But I
other
think
hand,
Biden's inauguration there will
was
probably be a lot
probably
more
the
people that go to
most-
that
the
than
most I've seen
to
of
like a
staff
Trump rally.
in a year, and that's
Because that seems
it's
more
the first week of
exclusive. I feel
Congress
like
and
like
it is
Biden's
electoral
inauguration. That's
college
only going to
certification.
happen one
So
time. Because I don't think
fewer
he's running
staff
for
are really
re-election. Like
more-
that's going to be a one-time thing.
more than we've
But a
seen during
Trump
most
rally
of
like
the
that
coronavirus.
happens every
One other
week
note
pretty
being,
much.
I have
It's
seen
not like as
Japanese
exclusive, I guess.
gathering,
And like the
in a
inauguration is a
in the
much
building
much
that
more
I am at.
prestigious sort of
They
thing.
clearly are trying to
But
figure out
I
their
could
next
see it. I
steps.
mean,
They are organizing.
we all know that
obviously they
Trump
speak to them,
gets a
they have
lot more
job
people at
security.
his rallies than
But I can
Biden does
tell you
his.
that they're organizing, they are gathering in their groups here. I don't know what their next step are, but they're clearly trying to figure that out themselves as well.
Because it seems like this election was not pro-Biden people versus pro-Trump people. It was pro-Trump people versus anti-Trump people. There might be a few pro-Biden people, but those people voted Biden. But those people are a real minority. It was really it was an election. Do we want Trump for 4 more years or not? And there were anti-Trump people. Those people voted Biden. Pro-Trump people, they voted Trump.
The governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, has said that Maryland is sending in state troopers and National Guard as well to help get.
Yeah, but who would really get out of bed to see Biden? I could see with Obama because minority, with Biden not.
Under control, under a safe,
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, Biden still will be the president, so I mean, just like the idea, like I went to a presidential inauguration. That seems like a, I don't know. That seems like a thing that I feel like people would care about and want to do.
An explosive device was found at the Republican National Committee and detonated safely.
An explosion device.
So that's another development we will be following.
Jesus Christ, what the fuck is going on? I listened back to what she's talking about and hear explosion device. I'm like, what the fuck?
For Speaker Pelosi for several years. You've been at the Capitol. You have decades of experience in the building. You've been talking to folks. What are you learning?
Well, most members seem to be safe.
I should probably post this in a few
Staff
Discords,
seem to be safe.
just since I'm going to be doing this for like
They're
another
locked
little
down. As
bit.
Lisa just reported, many of them are working from home. Only staff that were needed for today's procedure were in the Capitol or in the House office buildings. But you know that they're deeply concerned. And you know, this is an institution. Okay, so I've worked there for a long time. It's an institution that has done a lot of good. It's an institution that has done a lot of bad. I personally care about the institution. I know a
Raiding
lot
the
of members
Capitol.
do, and a lot of staff do, and it's very, very, very disturbing to see
Very
Congress,
disturbing.
the buildings, and what it represents. Its
Jesus.
ability to do good for the country.
Oh my God, this
certainly
like
has an ability to do
established,
harm.
this love of
To
the
be under
establishment
attack
is
like
kind of
this,
gross. Like,
and
the Capitol
it
does so
raises
much good for the
very, very
country.
significant
How
questions
dare they
about
attack our
how this
government
move is
buildings?
going to be changed.
How
You know,
dare
what
they?
I see is that this
Like,
movement
oh
of people that are
God,
there
Jesus
today,
Christ.
which
Like, this is, I get this
they
is big. It's like
resemble
a
when you
coup,
look at them,
whatever. They're like
they
trying
resemble
to,
the people that
they're
gathered,
raiding the Capitol, but it's not
in
like,
Lansing, Michigan, to try to shut down the state capitol in Lansing.
but we don't have to
They
get like
resemble some
pearl
of the
clutchy
people
about
that,
it.
that said that they, were planning to kidnap, were arrested for planning to kidnap Governor
Oof, I have a
Whitmer.
dislike.
When that
Gotta like it
happened,
for myself.
President
Hold on.
Trump said nothing.
I'm posting this in
And
the
all of the
the
times
Discords
that,
right
that
now.
people gather, whether it's in Charlottesville or here or elsewhere, and they're never told that this can't go on by the top leadership in this country, they're emboldened to go further. And this is now the furthest step that they have taken to break into the Capitol. Their actions
Like, oh
potentially have
God,
resulted
Jesus Christ.
in the serious wounding or death of somebody inside
my
the
gosh.
building. That is on the President of the United States. And really, I hate to say this, it's on.
Oh, hey,
the
what's up,
heads of
Daniel? I
every
see you in the
Republican
I
that
see you in the
has
chat now.
supported President Trump.
Oh
I don't
Jesus!
say that as a
Imagine
partisan.
Trump pardons these
I say
people.
that as
Yeah, we got
someone who is
what we got to do. We got to wait for
should
Biden to get in
mention this.
office
She
and
said
then
words have
prosecute these
consequences.
people.
So those consequences we are now seeing play out. When the president was acquitted,
The Roman Empire has fallen and sacked. Odo, I don't know how to say that word.
and we are now
Odo,
really seeing the consequences of that.
Odoker's reign
Listening,
begins.
to Danny Weiss,
True.
who worked at the Capitol for a
Revolution.
number of years
America
as
has
chief
been
of
taken
staff to
over.
Nancy Pelosi. We're
Now we have an
hearing,
eternity
and
of Trump.
seeing evidence of
Finally,
tear gas
we have
or
finally
other
arrived
form
at the
of
point
gas
where
that's
Trump
been
is the
used
new
around
great
the
leader of
Capitol to try
America.
to disperse the
Go,
protesters.
fight, ye
We are
protesters.
watching this
Fight
very
and revolt
closely, to
for our
see,
dear leader Trump.
where it's coming from and what happened. This is inside. Now, this is a camera inside, I believe, the Senate chamber.
True,
We're
Trump
looking
is
at this.
king of
We were told
America.
Earlier, the protesters were in there. They were rummaging through the desks of different senators. I just want to let you know that as we see this, and this is the Senate chamber, or is that the House chamber? I'm having to get an. This is the House chamber. My apology.
Oh, we
I just
praise
wanna,
ye,
I see members of
adore
Congress
ye,
sitting in
Donald
some of these
Trump.
seats. I'm trying to.
I always
sure I'm
think of
recognizing
you
people.
when I'm
But I do want to
taking a
report that Speaker
dump.
Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who is the ranking Democrat in the Senate Minority Leader, have both called on
I'm getting
President
pings.
Trump to
Oh, everything
ask
loads so
his
slow when
supporters
I'm
to
streaming.
leave the
I hate
Capitol
it.
grounds. They've called on President Trump to ask his supporters to leave the Capitol grounds. We had reported earlier that Kevin McCarthy, who is the House Minority Leader,
McCarthyism?
Republican, called
I
on
actually don't know
President
who that
Trump,
is. I'll be
to
honest.
try to calm the situation, to ask his
Calm the
reporters to
situation.
stand down. We
I
don't
wanna
know
watch a
what
Trump
effect
speech right
that
now.
had, but now we have the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, who's the ranking Democrat in the Senate, both asking President Trump to speak to his reporters to urge them to leave the Capitol. So these requests are coming into the president from the Democratic leadership, from the Republican leadership. We have the Vice President of the United States calling on these protesters to stand down, saying they will be prosecuted, he said, to the full extent of the law. My colleague Nick Schifrin, who covers national security, covers the military, the Pentagon, and
How are they going to
State Department for
prosecute
us.
these
Nick, with some
patriots?
information. Nick,
Oh my
you wanna go
gosh.
ahead?
I'm so disappointed in this country.
Yeah,
They're
Jim, over the
prosecuting
last,
these
hour or
patriotic,
so, it's been
these
really back and
patriotic,
forth when it comes to the National Guard, DC.
these
National
patriotic
Guard,
super soldiers of
deploys to the
America
Pentagon,
who are
whereas
just trying to
Virginia
preserve
and
our
Maryland
rights against the
National Guard
communistic
would deploy,
Democratic
to their
Party.
governors after being asked. We now have
I should probably
confirmation
check the
from
chat
the
again.
Pentagon that the DC National Guard
This
will
is what we will be
deploy,
telling our
into
children's children
Washington,
about.
DC
Thank you,
and the area
Chandler.
around the
We will
Capitol.
be
A statement from Chief Pentagon
This
spokesman
day will go
Hoffman,
forward for
that the
centuries.
Guard has been
We will
mobilized to
remember this
provide
moment.
support to federal law
After
enforcement
Trump is
districts,
crowned King of
and then
America,
discusses
we
how
will
the
all
acting Secretary of
prostrate
Defense,
ourselves for
Chris
Trump,
Miller, has been in
and we will
contact with
give our
congressional leadership,
lives
and the Army
for our dear
Secretary,
leader Trump, so he may
McCarthy is
live
working with
for
the
another
government,
century.
that's led, of course,
I will.
by
I
Mayor and the state
I
of
will
Missouri
donate
State
my
law
blood
enforcement
to Donald
response
Trump
will be led
so
by
that
the
he can
Department of
renew
Justice.
his
And Judy,
blood,
that speaks to
and
fears
renew
within
it with the
Pentagon,
blood of youth,
until
so that he
this
can
afternoon,
live
I
for
should
all of
say,
eternity.
that the DC Guard
Thank you.
would be misused.
And I hope you
There
donate
were
your
a
blood to
lot
Trump
of
as well.
concerns how the DC National Guard deployed in June during the George Floyd protests, and so Joint Staff.
I hope you,
leaders,
I'm
Pentagon
talking to
leaders,
you.
Army leaders took pains to restrict
Sacrifice
how
your
the
life
Guard
for Trump.
could be deployed.
Sacrifice
They
your
weren't
blood.
allowed, as of this
Sacrifice
morning,
everything
to
for
have
our
weapons.
dear
They
leader.
weren't allowed to
We
have
need
any
you
armored vehicles.
to make
They
a
weren't allowed to
sacrifice
use
for our dear
helicopters
leader
like they did in
Donald Trump.
June. But again, that was as of this morning. So this is new. This is just in the last hour or so.
There we go.
DC National Guard has been activated. The entire Guard, all 1,100, has been activated.
Daniel says,
because of what's
from
happening
George
in the
III to
Capitol,
Donald I.
and they will
True,
be,
from George III
assisting law
to Donald I.
enforcement in the Capitol.
The American dynasty
One more, Nick,
shall
an
be
extraordinary turn of
shall be
events this
completed
afternoon.
by our dear
You
leader
have the
Donald,
DC National
who shall
Guard
live
here
for all of
reporting.
eternity.
Earlier, we have been
He shall
reporting
see-
both
he
Virginia,
shall
that
see-
Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia
He shall be the
said
first
that the
man to live in
Virginia National
3
Guard
separate
was going into
millennia.
the district to help
The
at the request
second
of
millennia,
Mayor Bowser.
last millennia,
We've
to the
had,
third millennia,
Maryland
all the way
announcing
to the
that its
fourth
National
millennia,
Guard,
when the
state
sun
police
finally
being made
overtakes the
available
earth.
to try
I don't
to
think that'll
bring
actually happen next
to
millennia,
restore
but
some calm
whatever.
and peace there at the United States Capitol building, which has been overrun.
Cringe Republicans saying these
today
are
by
these are
protesters,
Antifa justice
supporters of
Trump
President
supporters.
Trump, who called on them to come to
Hey,
Washington
these
to
these
protest
people
the
are too
election
base to be
results
Antifa.
and in a belief in his false belief that the election
Let's actually
was
listen
rigged
to the
and
news
stolen from him.
rather than
So as
going
a
on about our
result
dear
of
leader
his
Trump.
pushing,
Listen to this fake news.
and urging. This is what it has led to. There are reports that a number of people have been hospitalized. We know at least one protester apparently was shot.
Daniel says, why do I feel like
We don't know the
libertarians are
condition of
celebrating
that
this?
person.
Look,
There's a
libertarians, they
reliable
love
report that
chaos.
the
They're
person was
anarchists.
shot in
They're
the neck.
ANCAPs.
We don't
Think about it.
know,
ANCAPs love
again,
chaos.
what has happened.
They love
We
the
know
chaos
it's
of
serious.
competing
This situation took a dark
competing
turn
rights
very
enforcement
quickly
groups,
after
competing
the House
competing
and Senate
rules of law,
convened
competing judges,
to
competing
try to
justices,
begin the
competing
formal process of
competing
counting
courts. They
the
love it. They
electoral
love
vote,
that
which should have
clash.
been
They
routine,
love that violence.
what should have been a
It'd be just like
routine
they think about
process,
they
has
watch the
turned
movie
into
Mad
this
Max and they
that
think
we've been
this
watching,
is what I want society to
unfold
be
all
like. They feel
afternoon since about
inspired.
1:30,
They feel like
2
I would win
Eastern
this.
Time in Washington. My colleague Amna Nawaz has been there on the grounds of the Capitol watching all
That's
this
why
happen.
libertarians
Amna, I know
would support
there was a
this.
report a little while ago there was tear gas that was deployed. Tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
That's right, Judy. We've actually pulled a little further back away from the Capitol because of that tear gas. I'm not sure if you can see or not over my shoulder, but there's a pretty densely packed crowd that's still trying to get into the Capitol. They've been in a confrontation and a lockdown, a standoff with DC Capitol Police for quite some time now. That contingent has kind of continued to grow. It's dissipated on other
I'm
parts
glad
of the
you're
Capitol
inspired,
outside
Gina.
here.
I'm-
But you might still be
I
noticing
live
there's some
to I
gas
live to
coming up
inspire.
over the wall on that side. It's unclear to us exactly from where it was deployed, but of course it's very windy, it's very cold out here. It blew up over that hill, and it did have a little bit of effect. Some of that crowd dissipated. We talked to a few protesters as they were leaving.
The era of
walking
Trump has
away
only
from here,
begun.
the
I
white
believe
people
that a lot of
eyes,
rhinos
the
are going to get
red-eyed, and the
primaried
noses
out.
were running as-
I mean, that's
I know
possible,
someone
but that's
experienced
gonna.
tear gas before. That is what
If the
happened.
era of
We
Trump
pulled a
begins,
little
the era of
further
the
away from
Republican
the
Party is basically
crowd, so
over.
there
They're gonna.
was
I mean, they're gonna be
confrontation
condemned
with
to
DC Capitol
a
Police.
future of like
Fritz, I'm not sure if you can hear a little bit that
House
would be
minorities
interesting.
and Senate
There's still a
minorities for
significant
forever. They're
contingent
never
of
gonna win
people
another
that are on
presidency.
that center
It's
stairwell,
always
but
gonna.
even
They're always
that
gonna be a
has thinned
minority
out
because I think
just
only
a
like
bit.
30% of the
So I wanna
country,
update people on
30% of the
what's been
voting
happening out here.
population
There's
will end up
definitely
voting
fewer
for the
protesters. Maybe
voting for the
because of the cold,
Trumpists.
the tear gas also
Because I think,
contributed a little bit.
I mean,
But
let's just do
people
a
are by
fucking
and
let's do a
large
breakdown. Let's say
starting to
40%,
leave some of the
40%
protesters. You'll see some
Republican,
walking around
40% of voters are
behind us
Republican,
as
40% are
well.
Dem.
There's now many
And then
more
the other
Japanese
20% are
guards,
independent.
law
Well, I don't think the
enforcement
independents are gonna
officials,
side with the
some with
Trumpists.
emergency
I don't think the
response,
moderate Republicans are
that's
going to side with the
all
Trumpists.
taken up a
So you're going to
position
end up with like
outside the
30%
perimeter.
are
They
left
seem to be part of that line
that
now
are like
holding
die-hard
people back.
Trumpist Republicans.
There's a handful of DC
Let's do a
Capitol
paint
Police
stream.
who
Let's
from the
pull a
beginning were still
fucking
in those
let's
same
pull a
positions.
fucking
But again, fewer protesters now
let's pull a
engaged in
fucking
direct confrontation. Now down to sort of a smaller, hardcore contingent that remain
let's pull a fucking
screaming and
Vosh
yelling and waving
and do a
flags
paint
and
stream.
chanting in that confrontation with law enforcement. We have not yet seen any significant
Pro Mr.
arrival
Lunico
of
is doing his
National
shit
Guard
in the
troops
chat.
and
What
any
up,
other
bro?
reinforcement
Rhinos
troops.
gonna
We're
rhinos.
hearing
Alright, let's think
sirens
about
and
this.
we see cars
You
go
have
up every now and again. But I have to
these
say, from here, Judy, we haven't
are the
seen a
Trumpists,
significant increase
30%.
in that kind of heavier law enforcement or official presence. We'll let you know as we do, but maybe
These
they're
are the
hoping
moderate
that
Republicans who don't like
the
Trump.
cold overtakes people and the
Let's
tear
say
gas
they're
is
like
deployed, that
10%.
the crowd will continue to thin out a little bit more. Tensions seem to have gone down just a little bit, but we'll come back to you as we know more. Judy?
Let's go
All right,
here.
Amna, thank you. From outside the
These
Capitol, and now to Joe Biden
are the
speaking to press in
hardcore
Wilmington,
Democratic
Delaware.
supporters, 40%. So these are all the people that we know what they're going to vote beforehand. Then you have like the independents that make up like 20%.
At this hour, our democracy is under unprecedented.
In the era of Trump, I believe that
unlike anything we've seen
all
in
of these
modern
people
times. An assault on the citadel of
are going to vote Democrat. Or maybe there'll be some of them who don't. These people are all become
an assault
moderates
on
though.
the people's
But let's listen to Biden.
representatives
I gotta go fast now. I heard that and I'm like, I
Capitol
gotta
police
finish this.
sworn to protect them. And the public servants who work at the heart of our republic. An assault on the rule of law
Sorry, I got tired.
like
gotta
few
pay attention.
times we've ever seen it. An assault on the most sacred of American undertakings, the doing of the people's business.
I feel tired now. Holy shit.
Let me be very clear.
Fuck. I need to get some
scenes
coffee.
of
I feel
chaos
tired
in the
listening to
Capitol
Biden. Jesus Christ.
Do not reflect a true America.
Trump has 95%
do not
approval in the Republican
represent
Party. Oh
who
shit,
we
maybe I'm
are.
wrong then.
What we're seeing are a small number of
Then I
extremists
don't think Trump is gonna get
dedicated to lawlessness.
a lot of independents at
This is
them.
not dissent. It's disorder. It's chaos. It borders on sedition. And it must end now. I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward. You've heard me say before in different contexts.
Also, I don't know if that
words
Trump has
of the
having
president
95% of the
matter.
Republican Party is gonna
No matter how
hold for
good
very
or
long,
bad
for
that
very much
president
longer after
is.
this.
At their best,
After
the
these,
words
after
of
this
a
like
president can
conspiracy shit.
inspire.
But we'll see.
At their worst,
Or people just leave the Republican Party.
can incite. Therefore, I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
Strong Biden. I demand.
The Capitol, to
It
smash
still doesn't sound
windows,
convincing.
to occupy
It
offices.
is what it is.
The floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection. The world's watching. Like so many other Americans, I am genuinely shocked and saddened that our nation, so long the beacon of light and hope for democracy, has come to such a dark moment. Through war and strife, America's endured much. And we will endure here, and we will prevail again, and will prevail now. The work of the moment and the work of the next 4 years.
Dan points out the world is watching. Get out of here with your second-handed BS. That's actually that's a good point. When everyone's like, the world is watching us.
The rule of law.
That's a good point because
Just
when
plain,
people
simple,
say that so
decent.
much. I just never really think about that. It's like,
Renewal
yeah,
of
do we
politics.
really care what fucking
It's about
Libya
solving
thinks about
problems,
us,
looking out for one another, not stoking
or
the
fucking
flames of
Somalia,
hate and chaos.
or fucking Greece,
As I said, America's about honor,
or Taiwan,
decency, respect.
or France? Who cares what those countries
who we
think about
are.
us? Like, what the fuck?
That's who we've always been. The certification of the Electoral College vote is supposed to be a sacred ritual. To affirm, purpose is to affirm the majesty of American democracy.
We're raiding Joe Biden's basement.
Today's
True.
reminder, a painful one. democracy is fragile. And to preserve it requires people of goodwill, leaders of the courage to stand up, who are devoted not to the pursuit
I
of
feel like he's
power,
not really even saying anything.
but
Like it's
personal
like he's
interest,
just stringing
self-interest,
together
at
inspiring
any
words
cost, but at the
and like
common
saying
good.
they're attacking our democracy, and just he's just kind of just
Think
repeating
what our
that over and
children
over
watching
again.
television are thinking.
Think of the children, guys. Think of the
The rest of
children.
world is looking at.
The children don't know what the fuck
For
is
nearly
going
two
on.
and a half centuries,
Why are we thinking of the
We,
children
the people,
seeing this on the news? Like
in search
they don't know
of
what's
a
going on.
perfect union, have kept our eyes on that common good. America is so much better than what we've seen today. Watching the scenes from the Capitol, I was reminded as I prepared other speeches. in the
America
past,
could be better.
Reminded of the words of Abraham Lincoln in his annual message to Congress.
Did he say the greater good? Oh
whose
God.
work
And someone says, the dude's name,
chaos.
I can't ever
Lincoln
pronounce.
said-
The world should watch themselves. True.
He said, "We shall nobly
We shouldn't be
say,
funding other people's
merely
militaries
lose
throughout the world. We shouldn't be
last
over trying to bring democracy to the Middle East. We shouldn't be doing any of
Went on
that.
to say,
Figure it out yourselves.
the way is
Not our
plain,
responsibility.
peaceful, generous, just. A way which, if followed,
No one has kids
the
anymore
world will
anyway.
forever
True.
applaud, and God must forever bless.
The world will applaud
is
and
plain
God will
here,
bless. Oh, perfect. Second-handedness and mysticism in
It's
this.
the way of democracy,
Right there, right together. We got them right together.
justice,
God,
honor,
mysticism, second-handedness.
and commitment.
Perfect.
Faithfulness
That'll
to this
appeal to the
nation.
American public.
Notwithstanding what I saw today and we're seeing today, I remain optimistic about the incredible opportunities. There has never been anything we can't do when we do it together.
Feels good, man.
And this
Feels good.
God-awful display today is bringing home to every Republican and Democrat and Independent in the nation that we must step up. This is the United
I understand what they may be feeling, though.
States
Their
of
vote,
America.
their vote was the last tool they had to make things right, and they feel as though they had them taken away from them by fraud. If I thought that, I would be angry too.
Done it together.
If I believed it, I might take up arms. I feel that. I think it's hard to blame the people here. It's hard to blame the people who are protesting. I think the fault obviously more lies with
God bless America.
Trump primarily
God
for
protect
instilling
the Jews.
Trumpism in the Republican Party, for instilling this
All
like
those folks at the
this
Capitol
this
are trying to
this
preserve.
tendency to believe all these
you,
conspiracy
Mr.
theories, to believe things with little evidence, to just believe random lies.
Joe
That's what
Biden,
that's what he's been
talking,
priming them
to the
for
press there in Wilmington,
all of his 4
Delaware.
years.
The
That's what he's been
president-elect
working hard
calling
to
on President
do.
Trump
He's been working hard to
to
break down the
speak on
epistemological
national
standards of this
television to
country,
order his
to make it so that
supporters to
people will
leave
just
the
accept
Capitol. We
any
heard
sort
Joe
of
Biden
lies,
describe
any sort of
what he
arbitrary
called
lies
disorder
that
and
that
chaos
their leader
at the
says. As
Capitol.
long
He
as
said
their
this
leader says
borders
that
on
makes it true.
sedition. It must end.
This breaking
I
down of
call on
epistemological
this
standards
mob, I'm
is
reading,
what I
Joe
think
Biden's
Trumpism is
words,
responsible
to
for in this
pull
country.
back.
And it's
And
hard
he
to
went on to
it's
speak
hard to
about the
blame
words of the
necessarily the
president.
individual
It
people
matters
since
to
they're
cite,
brainwashed, but I do think it's
in
the
many
responsibility
ways,
lies with them
President
too.
Trump has
They
called on
have
his
free will. They
supporters
still
to
have the
challenge
ability
the
to make this
election
choice.
result.
The choice to hold
He
on to their
spoke about the
epistemological
need
standards,
now
to hold
for
on to
Americans
reason.
to come together. He said the work
But
that
that's
we're gonna have to do,
most people aren't trying to do that.
coming-
Most people aren't
in
going to do
coming
that. I
weeks
mean,
and
when they're
months,
just being
will be
brainwashed
to
with
bring the
Trump
country
propaganda all their
together.
lives.
I'm very much condensing what the president-elect had to say, but the most newsworthy was his
If there were
calling
Democrats
on
raiding the Capitol, there would be
President
fire and
Trump
spray
to
paint
go
everywhere.
on
This is
national
peaceful.
television and urge,
It's weird to say that this
his
is peaceful. I
supporters
mean,
to
I'm
leave
hearing
the
that people are
Capitol.
getting shot.
We
They had to
know that
evacuate
there
the
were
building.
reports
There's like
before,
tear gas being
Biden
thrown. There's,
spoke
I mean,
from other news
it's not as
organizations
bad,
that
obviously, as like the
President
worst
Trump had
BLM
been
protests,
asked by
but
Republican leaders
it's
as
also
well as
not
Democratic
really
leaders
good either. We
to
can't.
urge
I
people
would
to
not
leave
say
the
it's
Capitol, and
peaceful.
He was refusing to he was refusing to go
On a lighter note, when do
television
we get a burn down
to
of
do
Wendy's and
that.
loot a
He
Target?
was
Is there a
declining.
waiting
At
list?
least that is according
It seems like
to other
one nice thing about
Right
this though is
now,
that they're like
our own
they're
reporters, our own
they're
researchers
attacking a
at
public
Hannah
building rather than a
Dobbs,
private building.
have
So they're
been,
actually like
looking,
addressing
have
their
been
their
reporting
grievances
from the
to the
Capitol
place where
grounds.
they should
We are
be
waiting to
addressed
see evidence
to the
of,
to the
uh,
to the government.
National Guard, state patrols.
while
State
BLM was more
police,
focused on burning
to-
down
for
auto
some
zones and
evidence that
targets
they
and
are
shit.
showing up at the Capitol to
Although there
reinforce
were a
the
few
Capitol
police precincts
where
that they
were
burned down, which
clearly
was
underprepared,
understandable, I think.
Secured, and were not ready for the show of force on
but-
the part of these protesters.
Yeah, that's
They
that's
came
one thing that's a little
in
better, but this is
force
also like a
in
more
large
direct
numbers,
attack on our
determined
government, I
to
think, too,
breach
since
the
it's
Capitol,
like
to
it's the
breach
Capitol building.
perimeter, to go in, to knock down the doors.
Yeah,
To break
the target's
windows,
correct. The
break
motivation is less
glass,
than.
get
That's true.
inside,
The target's also a
into
lot
the
more
Senate
significant
chamber,
too, though.
into the House
Like
chamber.
one
Here
target,
we
sure.
have
Like
this
that's obviously
quick
bad,
look
but this is.
at
I mean, this is a
House
lot more
chamber.
significant, I think, for our
We were
democracy
told that
than like
protesters
burning
were
down of a
inside.
target.
They were also told that House members are trying to find different places to stay safe in the Capitol building.
We have to wait until libertarians
has
get in power.
reported for
True.
us
Yo,
that the members of
if
Senate
the ANCAP
were in
libertarians get
one
into power, I
location.
mean,
We
we'll be
don't know
seeing
what
burning
that
and looting
location
every
is, but
day
we
of
were
our
told they
lives.
were
That'll be
staying
so
safe,
exciting.
being
It'll be
kept
just
safe
like Mad
in
Max,
one
guys.
location. But we're trying to follow sources of information from many different directions. We've just listened to Joe Biden calling on President Trump
Why can't Trump admit
to
defeat?
go before the
True.
American people, to go
'Cause
on
it's
national
apparently fraud.
television,
Eh.
to urge his supporters to leave
I'm not the one to
Capitol,
look for information
to pull back.
to look for
And
fraud
Biden
debunking
himself
stuff
called
from,
on
but I
these
mean I have a few
protesters
points.
to
Like
leave
the way they
Capitol.
collected
He
affidavits,
said,
as I explained
and
earlier,
I'm
was
quoting here,
just
he said,
a
they
nonsensical
are, what they are
method for
doing borders
obtaining
on
truth.
sedition.
I mean, but like I've been
He
saying,
called it
Trumpism is
disorder,
opposed to
even
reason. It's
chaos.
opposed to
He
the
said
proper
they do not
epistemological
represent
methods.
Who we are as American people. They are a small number of extremists. And he went on to
I think
call them,
Trump also. I
he
think
said,
he's
"I
trying
call
to
on this
tear down the
mob
Republican
to
Party with
pull
him.
back." And
He still
described
wants
the
to
words
have
of the
power
president,
among a large group of people and
fully
doesn't
holding
care if the
President
Republican
Trump
Party holds power
responsible
after his death.
for what has
Trump
happened
wants
today,
power.
At the Capitol.
He
These are
doesn't
live
care
pictures
about the
we're looking
Republican
at
Party. The Republican
from
Party
the
for
Capitol
him is a
grounds. We know
means
that tear
to the
gas
end of
was
his own
deployed
power.
a little earlier, maybe
So if he can
15, 20,
hold like
30 minutes
30%
ago,
of the
in an
country,
effort to
that's just
disperse
these
the crowd, but some of
diehard
them, a number
Trump
of them are
fans,
still there.
he'll hold it, even if it
The
means
dark
sacrificing
descends,
10%.
on the Capitol City.
Even if it
We
means
know
sacrificing
that,
10% and making it so that the Republican Party can never win another
30-some
election in
degrees,
their
with
in
some
the
pretty
rest of their
strong winds
existence.
Today. It's not a pleasant day to be outdoors, but this is a
stand back and
determined
stand by after all.
group.
It's
I just wanna
true.
share
They
some
stood back and stood by,
news,
and now
on
that the
Georgia
elections are over,
celebration
they're
of
rioting.
news
They're rioting.
organizations, not the
I mean, it was
Associated
probably
Press,
smart of them to wait
which
this
is,
long
what
to
the
riot
NewsHour,
because, I mean, I think
we
stuff
are
like this would
allied
have
with
probably
the
swung
Associated
Georgia even
Press in
harder
their
to the
call,
left.
But other news organizations are saying that John Ossoff, they're declaring him the winner.
Ooh, Charles
in
Newcomb
Georgia,
deleted
but
some
we're not ready.
messages.
We're waiting to see what the Associated Press says. Yamiche Alcindor has been at the White House for us all day, following events there. Yamiche, what are you learning?
What I'm learning is that there are reports that President Trump may be releasing at some point a taped statement.
Yeah, I mean, the GOP,
This
yeah.
This comes after
Jerome is right.
both
The
Democrats
GOP
and
never really did
Republicans and now
anything.
Vice President-elect Joe
Never really
Biden
did
have
anything
called
anyways,
on him to come to a
besides,
camera
like,
to call off these protesters who have
abandon
broken into the
ideology in the
Capitol.
Republican Party and
We've
defend
heard
capitalism
President-elect Biden say
incorrectly.
something that so far
Now what we
President
need is
Trump
like
himself has
a
not said, and that
real
is
pro-capitalist
telling
party.
these protesters
But
to
I don't
go
think
home,
I don't
saying
think that'll
this
happen. I think
protest
I
is
think the
simply
American
for
people are so opposed to
insurrection.
capitalism at this point.
He
I
also
don't
said that
don't
this is
know
not
if we'll ever
democracy and
go
that
the right
president
direction
needs to,
after
quote,
this.
step up. So
But this
the
actually is
president
really
responded in
interesting.
some
I think
ways.
I didn't
There are
realize
other
that there was
parts of the
this much
president who say
capacity
this is
for
all
like
really all
revolt
because of the
for
president and his rhetoric,
rioting
his
and
continuing to
in
defeat
the American
drama
people.
of disinformation.
I
So what
did
we
not
see
think
is
that was possible.
President-elect Biden
But
saying, "In
I
this
think
moment,
we
President
do
Trump,
see
you
that
need to
now.
step
Like
up
after
and
the
be
BLM protest,
presidential."
after
We will
this
hear- we'll
protest
wait
is
to
another
see what the
example. Like I
president
do
says in
think
that taped,
I do think America
video
is
address,
primed
because the
for a
president
revolution.
has in the past in these video
But it's
addresses
not
continued
a
to talk
revolution
about,
that we would want to see. I think,
disinformation,
or
continue to talk about
though
debunked
the
claims.
capitalists
He's
in my
used these
audience, I
taped-
think some of you would like to
these
see a
taped
revolution,
videos to try to
although
really just continue to
more of the
spread facts that are
fascist
simply
kind.
not true, and
Ever
not
since
take
my
really
Groper
hard
thing,
questions
but
from reporters.
I get it. You guys
In
aren't
this
fascists.
moment,
Yeah,
the nation
shut the
is
fuck
looking
up.
for a leader to say something about what's going on.
And we know, Yamiche, as you're reporting, the president has apparently taped a message that
Will the
is gonna
police
be
or army
released
do something more? Where are
shortly.
they?
We
I'm
will, of
not
course,
sure.
share that
I heard they're
as
calling
soon
in the
as we
National
see
Guard.
it.
I'm not
I'm
sure though.
told, Okay,
I mean,
maybe this is it.
out
It's a
here
2-minute
it
statement.
looks
It's
fairly.
on
It
Twitter.
doesn't look terrible.
It was just
But I mean, I
released
know they
as
were
of
like people
about
were
2
going
minutes ago.
inside
As
and like
soon as we can
rummaging
can
through people's
share
desks
that with
and
you,
doing a
we
bunch of shit
will.
like that. So I don't.
told he
They
was
were
calling
looting
for
the Capitol.
calm.
When the looting starts, the shooting starts.
Calling for calm.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election.
he goes
Stupid
on.
leftist when you allow a recount with a signature
Let's
of
see.
voter fraud.
Maybe
Saying
we
it's
have the
fraud.
statement here. I hear the president's
gosh.
voice, so maybe someone.
The
has
signature thing, I
the
think, is
statement. I
dumb.
can see it
I-
on Twitter, but I'm not.
I
able
don't
to
really
share
care
it
how somebody
with you
signed,
until
as
the
long as
president
I don't know.
says-
I think
says
the
the
use of
election was
signatures is actually a
stolen.
really
He
really terrible
continues to
method of
insist the election
verification.
was stolen, but he is
Because
calling
nobody
for
signs the
fraud.
same way
So
everywhere.
it remains to be seen whether this short
But
statement by
yeah,
the
I mean, if you
president
signed a
will have the
completely different
desired
name,
effect
sure, fine.
of getting people to leave the
But I
Capitol,
might have
because
only
the
signed my
president
initials.
clings to
I don't
this,
remember. That's
completely
how I usually sign
unfounded and
things, though. I only
baseless
put my initials.
belief that the election was stolen from
Although,
him, that he
not
actually
always.
won. He's
So,
said on several occasions
never
he
know.
won by
on more like
millions of
official
votes or
things, I'll
hundreds
put
of
my
thousands
full
of
name.
votes in a
But
number of states, which is not true. But as soon as we can get the president's statement, we will share
Taking
that with you.
selfies with
picture
the
I'm looking at of
protesters.
the president, he's standing. It looks like in the Rose Garden. In
oh no,
front
Dan,
of-
you
in
have to
front of
start
the
over a
Rose
podcast.
Garden. It's a picture that is shot.
What
with
what's
him
your podcast
standing
going to be
there,
about? This
and I
now?
could show it to you
Oh
on
yeah,
my-
you're a news channel.
my
You gotta.
smartphone, but
You don't have the
probably
ability
not
to
the
like
best way to share,
wait a week or
to
two
share
to talk
video.
about this.
But in essence, the president is now speaking out to these protesters at the Capitol, asking them to leave, but still saying that the election was stolen from him, that it was
shut down
illegitimate.
the country, of
Another
course there
piece of
won't be a
news, the
revolution.
Associated Press has now joined other news organizations in saying that John Ossoff, the 33-year-old business entrepreneur,
All of them going to
is the
jail for a
winner
long time.
in the Senate,
Unless Trump keeps the presidency
race
and
in
pardons them
Georgia.
all.
That's the second race.
True, that's
in a runoff.
possible.
He was
That's
running
possible.
against David Perdue, who had served for one term.
Yeah, I mean,
term
if they
Republican.
end up
John
winning, though,
Ossoff
I
has
mean,
defeated David Perdue by a
Oh, is it
margin,
official now?
I believe
there it is.
0.6%.
50% to 50%.
5%.
Ossoff won.
That under which the
We're going to talk about
candidates,
political
voters
versus
can
economic
ask
power.
for,
That's actually that's a
an
good
automatic
distinction.
Recount.
That
So
takes precedence, so it shakes out.
appears to
Yeah,
be
that makes sense.
outside the
Now it'll be about
0.5%,
social
half of a
power.
percent
True.
margin
I mean, this
that
this
would
does kind of bring
trigger
up
or
political versus
set off
economic
an
power.
automatic
Like
recount.
a struggle
So
for
that is
political power
a big
necessarily
win
is
for
going
the
to involve
Democrats, for the
violence,
Democrats who have
because
won now
that's
two,
what the
not
state
one,
is. It is the
but
monopoly
two
on
Senate
violence.
seats in the state of Georgia is simply
So any sort of
stunning.
like
Another piece of
struggle for
stunning
power
news on this
outside of
already
the system itself,
very,
outside of a
news-
outside of a like systematic,
crammed
peaceful use of
day,
force,
that we're
it's
all
going to
living
involve
through
like
and watching.
real force.
The other race, of course, won by
I mean, the purpose of the
Reverend
Constitution is to
Raphael
create a
Warnock,
sort of system
who, was
to use force so that we don't
challenging
actually
incumbent
have to
Republican Kelly
initiate
Loeffler,
force at all,
who had been appointed to that
and
seat
can only
just a year ago
retaliate to it.
by the Republican governor,
But I mean,
Brian
when you
Kemp,
work outside of that Constitution,
after
it
the
mostly ends up being
former,
violent.
Senator Johnny Isaacson stepped down because of illness. Governor Kemp appointed Kelly Loeffler, a Republican, in the belief that she would appeal to moderates
writing
in the
my
state of
cast-
Georgia. She, as it
aren't they
turned
finding
out,
ballots?
became
I
a
don't
huge
know.
supporter of President Trump. She's espoused
Stop writing my
his
cast ring.
false claims that the election was stolen from him. She is expected to be one of the
Oh
members of the
man, I have to go
Senate
to
who
work soon.
object
I like this streaming
to
thing again
the,
though. This is fun.
or the senator who
I think I'll
objects
have to do this more often
to
when I have
the
free
electoral
time.
vote count in the state
Because
of
this
Georgia.
was
That
kind of
was supposed to
impromptu. I
happen
wasn't
this
planning on
afternoon. Of
streaming
course,
today.
all that
I was actually just
has
writing
been
a
put on
writing an
hold
essay
by
for the OAC.
protests that we've
And then
seen, that we've been
I saw
covering.
like everyone started streaming about
the
this. I'm like,
takeover
oh,
of
let's hop on the
Capitol,
bandwagon.
or I should say, the breach of the Capitol by President Trump's supporters, and completely unexpected turn
The
of
peaceful
events,
use of force?
violent
Question
turn of
mark.
events,
Kind of need a threat of
that led
violence
to
to
the
use force.
shooting of at least one protester, 6 people
Well, what I mean when I
also
say like a
seen
peaceful
reports
use
in
of
the
force,
last
it
few
would be
minutes that
like
some
I don't think I said
uniformed
peaceful, did I?
police
If I said a
have been
peaceful use of
injured,
force, that
uniformed
was a
officers,
misstatement. I
that
meant
is,
to
have
like
been injured.
solely confine it to
We're
retaliatory
waiting to
use
find out more.
when it's used by the
Lisa
government.
Desjardins,
That I mean
do
that's the
you
whole
have
purpose of the government
something
itself, to
new
prevent
for us
force,
from
the
inside
initiation of
Capitol
force to
complex?
be used in
Yes, a few
society
things.
by
So,
retaliating to
take
it.
off my mask because there's no one near me.
Trump tweeted a
It
video.
took me
What
long
did
to
Trump
realize
tweet?
that. But I can report that a large number of U.S. senators
Let's
are
actually
now sheltering in
pull Twitter
place
over
in a
here,
secure
just for the hell
location.
of it.
I'm not going to give
Just
that
so I can look
location. I
at-
know what that location is. On
look at
this
it on
side
here.
of the Capitol, on the House side, I've seen Capitol Police seem to be going through
What
the
did Trump
building,
tweet?
checking for members of Congress. I assume that they are going to offer them the chance to also go to a secure location. But I didn't want to get in their way. I didn't follow them. I didn't ask them questions. But they have been going.
Everything
door by
takes so
door
long to
looking
load.
for
Once I get
members
back
of
to
Congress,
once I get back to school,
to
this will
assess
be
their
a lot
safety
quicker
and
to like
deal
find
with
tweets
that.
and stuff.
I can also
Because
tell you, I've been
I'll be able to
speaking
just
with,
like
majority leader
I'll have
of
an
the House
Ethernet cable,
Lawyer's
but I don't have
Office.
Ethernet right now.
Um,
I'm surprised that my
and
streaming goes as
everyone
well as it does
honestly,
without Ethernet.
was uprooted from their normal workplaces. I think right now many staffers who are important in the operation of Congress are just now sort of getting back on their phones, getting in a position where they and their bosses can figure out the steps in governing that come next.
Oh, it's not
And
loading.
Hoyer's
Goddamn.
office tells me that
Come on
they
now.
don't know when this session will reconvene, and that they will let us know as soon as they do. But that's no surprise. I also have been told that Hoyer himself is also in a safe location, as you've been reporting for the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. You having
True.
covered Congress
Jackson
for a
says
long
all the
time.
liberals are all
You
crazy and doing
mentioned
peaceful
Senator
protests until
Loeffler
Republicans raid and break into the White
how
House.
she has
Yeah, I
planned
mean,
to
true.
object
I
to
mean,
the majority vote.
I think both sides are
It
like are all
is
pearl
going to
clutchy,
be
like
a
no
real
violence, violence is
question, I
bad.
think, in my
And then
mind,
when their side does it, they're
if
like, oh,
that
gotta get out of
plan
here. I'm
to
turning
object to this
turning
election
the other way.
continues
Or they're like,
after the
oh yes,
violence
the
that we've
revolution is
seen
finally
and
here.
that these members themselves have faced. We have been getting reports now. Journalists are scattered all around the Capitol.
Oh,
We're
here
in
we
close
go.
touch with each other, trying to keep in touch with who we're talking to.
Like,
And one
this
of
claim of
the
election
reports I
fraud is
got
disputed,
from
this
an
tweet.
interview with
Can't do
Representative
reply,
Mike
yeah, whatever.
Kelly of Pennsylvania.
here, let's pull this
he
over.
is one of the people. He's a Republican. One of the people who was objecting. Oh, it looks like my phone can't bring it up now. But when he was asked what he thought led to this, whether he was concerned about the rhetoric from the president led to this, the president who
Here, let's mute this one. Let's watch this video. Loki, both Trump and Biden are clowns. True. Based both sides, gang. Alright. Oh, it's muted. Why is it muted?
We had an election that was action. I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election,
Oh,
and everyone knows it, especially the other side.
So he begins by sympathizing with the protesters, by appealing to the mob, which is not necessarily the best way of dealing with that.
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from...
So he's literally just appealing to them, but he's appealing to them and saying, "But oh no, you're going too far." It's like watching like these violent Black Lives Matter protesters and saying, "Oh, I understand. I get why you feel this way. I get why you're doing this, and I really understand. Like this is so the system's so oppressive to you, and I get why you're burning down Target, and I get why you're burning down AutoZone, but it's time to go home. We need peace. We need love." I mean, that's so. Oh my God, like that's pussy shit. If you're gonna condemn somebody, tell someone to stop rioting. You fucking condemn them. Say they're stop rioting. You fucking say, you guys are all violent fucking animals. Go home. Get back in your fucking cage. We're gonna prosecute all of you. You're going to fucking prison. Show some strength, pussy.
From you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you.
So he's not really even condemning the violence. He's more condemning like not listening to law enforcement. What was the other thing just there? There's another one just there. Not listening to law enforcement.
Go home.
And looking bad. Those are the two things. So he's appealing to not listening to law enforcement, which is just like prostrating yourself for daddy government. And never fighting against anything, never fighting for anything, and adhering to the establishment primarily, which is not necessarily the best thing. I don't think you should always listen to law enforcement blindly. I think certain laws can be bad, but whatever. But that's the first thing he's appealing to, and the second thing he's appealing to is looking bad for the Democrats, which is clear secondhandedness if you've ever seen it.
We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Yeah, I mean, I like that he's saying to go home, but it's like it's not a really principled stand against the protesters. But he does agree with them. I mean, like if he didn't have to condemn violence, if he didn't have to condemn violence to be liked by anyone, like he wouldn't make this video. He wouldn't have made that video. He wouldn't have responded. But whatever. He's just like appealing to everything that they're protesting against. He's saying you're protesting against the right things, but you look bad. You're protesting against the right things, but you're fighting against law enforcement. So it's that. I mean, that's what this really is. But it's a limp dick response.
Party. My colleague was just
telling
me
that's the technical term for it. A limp dick response to protest.
Former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney has been quoted as saying, or maybe has tweeted himself, to the president, you must stop this. It's gone too far. Words to that effect. So even people who are close to this president, who worked directly with him, have been big supporters of his, many of them.
I don't know what any of you guys are saying in the chat. Holy shit.
But
Garrett, the opti is what? Your very special quote.
Very loyal to the president,
what?
Has been supporting him through all these election challenges, saying to the president, you must tell these people to leave. Now, finally, the president has done that, but he's done it
Ma
in
optics.
essence,
True. That's all this is. This is like Groypers are like attacking somewhere, and then Nick Fuentes is like optics, 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 and that's his stream.
And he's repeated that again just in the last few minutes. So it remains to be seen if these supporters of the president will be dissuaded in any way with that sort of mixed message coming from the president. We have a number of reporters who are following these fast-moving developments. Lisa Desjardins has been on the Capitol. Alma Navaz has been on the Capitol grounds. I've been joined of course, by Yamiche Alcindor at the White House. These are some pictures. I don't know whether they are live or earlier today of downtown D.C. live pictures. And I've also been joined by longtime Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I think it's about time that I end up going to work, though. I think it is time. So I think we had a good time. We watched Trump talk, we watched Biden talk, and that was a good time. So yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. We got a decent amount of viewers. I think we were up to like 12 for a little bit, which was nice. Once I started posting stuff in the Discords, the numbers went up a little bit. So I think I need to do that every time. I don't know why I just didn't do it this time. But whatever. It is what it is. Thank you everyone for watching. And good luck out there. Good luck fighting for our dear President Trump. Good luck in this revolution. And yeah. See you later, everyone. Have a good night, and thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next stream.